Welcome everyone to The Enthusiast Life. I am your host, Mark Turcotte. I'm so glad each and every one of you have decided to make me a part of your day. Well, my friends, it is Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. Hopefully your day is off to a good start so far. I know mine is here. I actually, my wife and I watched a very cool show last night. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And of course, we're one step closer to our trip to Disney World. I just got to get through this week. It's all I keep telling myself. Get through this week, and things are going to be much better next week. I'm going to be in a very magical place next week, and cannot wait to head to Disney. But yesterday, my wife actually, we have the Disney Rewards card, and that's something that we have had for a while now, which is, it's cool. I mean, it's it's a Disney credit card, basically. And every purchase we get, we have like whatever tier it is where we get 2% back and can put that towards a Disney gift card or something towards Disney. And that's usually what we do. So every time we go to Disney, we have this gift card with, a couple $100 on it or whatever that we can just use on whatever. And, we literally use it for everything, for gas, for groceries. You go to the, store, just everything we use this card for. So we're constantly accruing this money to be used towards Disney. Now, my card is a Darth Vader card. I've had it from pretty much the very beginning since we got it. It's awesome. It's got Darth Vader on the front of it. It's all black. The backside has a Death Star, a couple TIE fighters. And for the longest time, my wife had just the Disney Castle. Well, now with the 50th, she saw they have a limited edition 50th anniversary castle. It's gold, kind of like this rose gold pink. Kind of right now the park has all rose gold all over it. So she ordered that card and came in yesterday. So she was, flaunting it and everything when I got home. And so it made me think like, oh man, I've had the Vader card for a while. Is there another card that I could get? And immediately I was like, is there an Iron Man or an Avengers or something like that? So we go online. There's literally no Marvel cards. There's 2 Star Wars. There's the Vader, and then there's a Millennium Falcon card. Oh, actually 3. And there's a Mandalorian or Grogu card. I think it's the child. I think it's actually just Grogu that's on the front of it. Disney, where are the Marvel cards? Why do I not have the choice to get a Marvel card? Like, what are we doing? You gotta have either a Captain America or an Iron Man or just a, I don't know, give me something Marvel-wise. A Spider-Man card, like, now granted, I know those cards I don't think we pay any extra to get the card or even to switch the card. They'll just send you a new one. But I got a bone to pick with them. Give me a Marvel card. Give me a Spider-Man card. Give me an Iron Man card. Or give me a Captain America card. That's what I want. And I don't understand why it's not there. I don't know. Just kind of bothered me last night when we went to bed. I'm like, here my wife gets a sweet rose gold card. And granted, believe me, I love my Vader card. I would have no issue not switching and don't really plan to switch. But, I've had this card for a while. Yeah, let me switch it up a little bit. And the one cool thing about the Vader card is you always get compliments. Whenever you actually have to hand the card over, people are like, whoa, like that's a cool card. I love that card. And you're just like, yeah, big Star Wars fan. Now, it literally is, you hear people of like, oh, hand over your nerd card, your geek card. My Vader credit card is literally handing over my physical nerd card, right? I mean, it totally is. People immediately look at that card and they know everything they need to know about you, right? There's no avoiding it. There's no discussion, but I wear it proud. I hand over that card proudly. Like, yes, I'm a Star Wars fan. Yes, I'm a big nerd. Yes, I'm a geek. Deal with it, right? You just got to deal with it. But I want a Marvel card. Give me a Marvel card. What are we doing here? What are you doing? You can't even, why even bother making these other cards if you're not making a Marvel card? So I know nobody from the Chase credit card or whoever our card is through is listening, but please give me a Marvel credit card. That's all I want. But here today on the show, I want to talk about, I might have a little bit of a quicker show here, but I wanted to talk about the latest season of American Horror Story. It's season 10 right now, and I've talked about it before here on the show, back when Chris and I used to do the show. This is a show that my wife and I have watched every season, enjoyed some of them, kind of like some of the others. I mean, the show is definitely hit or miss, but it's one of the cooler shows on TV. We sat down last night, and my wife's like, I was like, what do you want to watch? She's like, let's watch something scary. So we go over to Hulu, and I knew American Horror Story were doing the American Horror Stories, which are kind of these one-shot or 2-episode quick little things. We watched the first story, which was only 2 episodes, but I actually didn't know they were doing a season 10, and it's called American Horror Story Double Feature. And in my head, every time I saw ads for that, I just thought it was American Horror Stories. I didn't know there was actually 2. So when we went into Hulu, I mean, we were shocked to be like, whoa, there's 6 episodes already of this new American Horror Story that's out. So we jumped in, started watching the first 2 episodes. And, that series continues to amaze me to how they're able to adapt and just every season change. It continues to not always have the same actors, because actors have come and gone kind of throughout the seasons, but you see the same faces playing new characters in a whole new world, kind of reinventing itself every season. And there aren't many shows that do that. I can't even think of really any show that does that, where they take the same actors, have them play different characters, but still kind of have it under the same label or same guise of the same series. And so you're always getting Sarah Paulson now. I mean, she's kind of a mainstay since season 2. I don't think she was in season 1. Evan Peters has been in there from season 1, but he's kind of come and gone a little bit. Billy Lord now is a mainstay in there. Macaulay Culkin is in the season. They always kind of have like a celebrity every once in a while. Lady Gaga was in a couple seasons. In this season, I want to give you the synopsis for it, because the way they're doing it now that I've kind of researched it, it's actually 2 parts. There's Red Tide, which is kind of what we're watching now, which they're dubbing By the Sea. And the other one is Death Valley, which is by the sand. So it's kind of going to be in the desert. But this first one takes place kind of in a small town, and seems to be like a Cape Fear, Cape Cod type town in the off season. So there's not a lot of people. And a writer who just by chance at some point looks exactly like Alan Wake, just going to throw it out there, goes to this town with his pregnant wife and daughter to get some inspiration to write. He has a new screenplay he's got to write. He's a screenplay writer. And essentially the town is almost abandoned outside of just the grocery store clerk. There's a bar that's open. There's a person who kind of manages the home that they're renting. And there's a crazy woman who Sarah Paulson plays who seems to clearly be addicted to crack. Macaulay Culkin plays maybe like a prostitute, I would say, a male prostitute, which is an interesting kind of character to see him playing, but weirdly enough, he fits it perfect when you see him. And Evan Peters, and there's an older woman, I'm not sure what her name is. I think Frances Conroy maybe is her name. They play these other 2 writers who say they come here every year and they write, they're highly successful. And meanwhile, through all this, and this is spoilers for the first episode, but you got to kind of set the stage to maybe get you guys to watch this, because it's cool. The wife and daughter go for a walk one day, and they walk by a cemetery, and there's this person who just stands up and he's kind of cracking like all his joints, and then he starts following them to the point where he's chasing them to the door, pounding on the windows and everything. And you clearly see he has like these fangs, not just fangs, though, every teeth is filed down and has points on it. And you learn there's other people in the town like this. They're really the only residents in the town, and there's dead animals that have been, their throats gouged out and the blood has been sucked dry, and just weird like that, where it seems like they're either vampires or zombies, or, you're not sure. And what ends up happening is the main character, the writer here, he has a bad case of writer's block. And he learns from Evan Peters' character that there's this pill that you can take. And if you take this pill, it will basically clear you of your writer's block, and you will write something super successful. And he mentions all these, himself and Frances Conroy, they've written these very successful they're playwrights and things like that. And they have created just well-known, successful stories and that they've written. And that if you take this pill, you can do that too. So the main character, of course, does that. But what he quickly finds out is it makes you crazy. Of course, he's writing like crazy and writing a very successful thing, writing to his people back in Boston or New York or wherever they are, and they're reading it. And they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. But you learn that it's at the cost of you needing to feed on blood. And he can be awake during the day, so he's not necessarily a vampire, but at one point you see him go to the grocery store and he's having to, drink the blood of the steaks in the counter, the meat counter and that. And then ultimately it leads down a path that isn't exactly the right path you want to be going down with your pregnant wife and daughter at home. Now, I'm not going to give you any more beyond that, but that's the premise. And like, that's what we love about the show. Sure, it's a crazy over the top horror story, right? But somehow they always are able to adapt. Now, come to find out, reading this was actually what was supposed to come out last year. So I think that's why we have this and the American Horror Stories right now out. But so this was supposed to be last year's, but due to the pandemic, obviously things got delayed and whatever. So we ended up getting what we got here. But it's a very just kind of creepy, cool story. And, I guess kind of brings up the question of, at what cost would you chase success, knowing the consequences? Now, in this guy's case, he didn't know the consequences until he took the pill. And he kind of learns that in that first episode. And that's kind of the interesting bit. But had he known that, would he still have done it? Because that's Evan Peters' character is like, hey, I'm fine doing this. It gives me the success that I need. And, it is what it is. I don't know, would you be willing to do that? It's like this ethical question. I don't know. But so far we're 2 episodes in. We watched second episode, gets a bit crazier. And I think we're all in on watching this because we love this stuff. It's, I don't know, my wife, and especially this time of year. I mean, we're going into Halloween season, right? It's that time of year where you want to be watching scary things. And that's where American Horror Story is always cool, is you get that this time of year. You always get the new season coming out. So rather than just go back and watch the old movies that are still classics and great, you always get a little bit of new horror to watch too every single year, which is neat. And, this is a show that honestly could kind of go on forever until they kind of run out of ideas, right? Because even though you kind of have that rotating cast, you can always have new cast members come in and kind of replace that, which is always cool for them to be able to do that. But we're watching it on Hulu. I think there's either 5 or 6 episodes out already. It started back in August 25th. So they got a couple episodes out already. So, you could probably binge this thing. But like I said, we only watched 2 last night, and hopefully we'll catch up before we go to Disney. Because, watching this in Disney is not necessarily a very Disney thing to do. So, but all right. Well, that's going to do it for me here today, guys. Hopefully, have a good day. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Marturka, MERKTURC. You can always email the show at theenthuselife@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you watch American Horror Story, have you watched previous seasons, or you're interested in watching the season, let me know. I would love to know your thoughts on the show and the series, and even the season if you're watching it. So until tomorrow, guys, we got a new episode of What If, which they've already teased the latest episode. It's one little Vision / Ultron with a couple Infinity Stones. So we are getting somewhat of a continuation of a previous episode, which is pretty cool. So we'll see where that goes tomorrow. But, of course, I'll be breaking it down tomorrow for you guys here on the podcast. So until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.